Hello.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? I just realized that, Ryan, you know how you were joking? Should I do some kind of system performance check?
Yes, I
The answer
wasn't
was
really
I
joking.
no. As soon as like the live stream kicked on, like everything came to like a screeching halt. Like I clicked on something, I was like, nah. So, hey,
Oh boy.
Serena, it's
Hey.
Ryan. It's me. Hi, everyone. I'm Jason. I'm Banter, crash landing on the internet. Serena, she networks on the internet. Ryan is, I don't know, RGP photog on the internet.
That's it. That's one.
And Serena and I today are going to talk about job hunting. Damn, Ryan's voice is like a radio host. It's true. He is just like butter. He has this thing going through like 14 different filters for it to work. All right, so today we're
This
talking
is
about
true.
job hunting. And so Serena and I are going to talk about job hunting, and we'll see if my screen actually shares. So Ryan, if you could share my screen here. And I was going to say we're brought to you by Antisyphon and Black Hills Information Security, but it's right here on the screen. So I'll just take that as a sign that John talked about this. He's got a SOC skills class coming up soon. But today we want to do something called LinkedIn profile reviews. So what we're going to do is we're going to review your LinkedIn profile, but from the aspect of job hunting. And if you're wondering why this is, well, we teach at Antisyphon Training. We do services at Black Hills. Like people want to work for us. We do training for people so that they can get better at what they do. And then, I mean, the goal of that is to be better at their work and to get better jobs. And so we're like, well, we should probably talk about job hunting as a part of this because lately I've been getting a lot of questions about job hunting. Like I did a job hunting live stream for 2 years, 211 people found jobs from it. But very recently I've been getting a lot more messages on LinkedIn for people who are job hunting. Serena, you do something too for job hunters.
Yeah, sometimes I'll do TikTok lives to help people kind of determine what they should be looking for like entry level positions. What skills would be good to put in your resume. I think a lot of people don't realize that skills they already possess are still relevant even if it's a career change because like things like communication, soft skills, time management, all that can still matter. So
For
yeah.
sure. So what I'd like to do is for someone to throw their LinkedIn profile into the chat. Now I'm going to need Ryan to then take that and stick it into the private chat. So because for some reason I can't copy and paste. So if you can find a way to copy it and paste that into the private chat, then I can click on it. But I
I
can't
think I
copy
have a
and
way.
paste from the chat overlay. So if somebody would like to be the person that we do a LinkedIn profile review, just go ahead and put it into the chat. If not, then I will just randomly go to someone's LinkedIn profile and then judge it. But no, that's not what I want to do. I want to make your LinkedIn profile better. So if you are hearing me and you're like, I would like my link, there we go. All right, haircut fish. Let's go ahead and do yours. I always do it on a first come, first serve basis. So if I can't click on it. So he's going to put it in the private chat, which brings it up here. Then I bring down here. All right. So, Dan Reardon. Dan, I believe we met you at Besides Charm. That is correct. Just go ahead and say correct. Eddie, we might get a chance to get to you. And also, Ron Mays, thanks for putting it in there. And John C. Wyatt, we'll see if we can get to yours too. All right, so we're going to take a look at this. Now, Serena, I'm going to like bounce back and forth, for you to get your opinion. And I want this to be very clear. This is my opinion as a person who has helped people do a LinkedIn profile review, like improvements over the course of like the last couple of years. So this is my honest assessment. This isn't every recruiter's honest assessment. This isn't every hiring manager's honest assessment. This is from a person who does marketing for a living, telling you a better way to market yourself. All right, so we got this up here. So Serena, we'll go ahead and read this together. It says IT Tech Sysadmin, Google IT Support Professional Certificate, top 2% will try to hack me with a personal best of a 110-day streak. So all of this looks pretty easy to read to me. You don't have the alphabet soup that sometimes I see where it's just a series of acronyms that you hope people understand. And I don't think you have that up here. I think IT Tech makes sense. Sysadmin makes sense. Google IT Support Professional Certificate, that's spelled out. And top 2% will try to hack me. Now, those of you that know, what that means is 98% of the people who, all right, let me rephrase it. 90% of the people who sign up for Try to Hack Me don't actually do anything on the account. So you're in that 10% who actually do something with it. And then you're in that top 2% of people who actually use it on a daily basis with that daily streak. Now, if that daily streak's not real, if that daily streak is old, if that daily streak is not as of today, then it's weird to have it. Serena, what are your thoughts?
I think it's clear because he says a personal best.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, it's like, oh, at some point, I didn't really assume that was like current. But I think like having that verbiage there is beneficial.
Yep. Now, I do see that you have 101 followers, 83 connections, and I'm not judging you on that. What I'm going to say is that the way that LinkedIn works, so the way that LinkedIn's algorithm works and everything like that, is that if you go into a search field and you type in GCIH, and what's going to happen is everyone with the GCIH in their profile somewhere is going to show up in this list. Okay, so there's 4,700 results right now for this. But do you see how there's like 2.5 decision makers with the search, all that stuff, try sales navigator? I don't need that. So the way that LinkedIn works is that you can see the first, second, and third connections by having just a regular account. So if I say third connections, what that means is someone who is connected to me, who's connected to that person, who's connected to that person. So it's the third connection, which if I get all the way down here, it's going to be 1,300 people who have GCIH somewhere in their profile. Now, when I go back to your profile, which I probably shouldn't have left your profile because now I have to go back to your profile. When you only have 83 connections, that means you have a very limited view of what's available in LinkedIn. So I'm not telling you there was this one person one time that told everyone to go make like 1,000 connections. And I get it. I understand that reasoning behind it. Like, hey, go meet people. I agree with you. Go meet people. Go introduce yourself to others. But just letting you know right now, you have a very limited scope of being able to do searches on LinkedIn for other people based on you don't have that many connections.
Plus, I mean, there's probably a lot of people that you can connect with that you do know or have worked with before. Like one time I got a job because I met somebody at a different job interview a couple years before, and then we connected on LinkedIn, and then 2 years later he helped me get a job at a different company. So like it's always, I don't personally use LinkedIn anymore because I don't want another job. But yeah, I mean, there's probably some people that you could even like through your contacts or something you could add to kind of expand that.
So I know that Serena doesn't job hunt anymore, but I job hunt 10 to 15 minutes a day. And it's not because I don't like the job that I have, which sounds weird to like Jason job hunts. And it's only because John Strand likes to go on action adventures. So right now he's somewhere in Yellowstone Park, probably rappelling off of something. And I'm always concerned that he's just going to not come back from one of these trips. And then at that point, I'm like, okay, all right. All right. So let's go through here. I'm going to spend a few minutes on your About Me section. And the reason I'm going to spend some time here on this About Me section is because getting used to talking about yourself here is how you start getting used to talking about yourself in an interview. Like Serena, like you've gotten to the point where you're on the internet, you're used to people knowing who you are, you're used to engaging with people. Not everyone's like that. And so when that interview comes, they're like, I don't know what to talk about. Or like if someone was like, hey, Jason, tell me like 5 things that are really good about you, I'd be like, oh, God. All right. That's awkward. So that's what this is all about, is like saying the nice things about yourself. And so you have to get used to saying the nice things about yourself. All right. So it starts off with, I have been interested in tech and electronics from an early age. Okay. Nice hook. I always love to take apart electronics to see how they work. Now, I don't know about you, but Haircut Fish right now Dan is going through that like, oh my God, he's reading it out loud on the internet. And you're about to find every mistake that you didn't know you had in this About Me section as I read it out loud in front of you and in front of everybody else. And there's a little part where your heart's starting to beat a little bit fast, and that's fine. Just remember that everyone that comes to your profile is reading this for the first time. So once you get done writing your About Me section, take like a week off, go back to it, read it again, read it out loud, painstakingly slow, and see what it actually says. So I always love to take apart electronics to see how they work, both internally and externally. Okay. Furthermore, I have recently, Feb 22, completed the Google IT Support Personal Certificate course through Coursera. Through completion of the Google IT Support Professional Certificate course, I developed skills in customer service, networking, operating systems, including Windows and Linux, system administration, and security. My training included hands-on practice in these areas. I'm passionate about continuously learning in the IT field and supporting people to solve their technical problems. I am currently going through different rooms, try to hack me to work on my skills as a pen tester and grow my knowledge in cybersecurity. The more I learn about cybersecurity, the more passionate I want to help and share my knowledge with others. All right, before I give my thoughts, Serena, any immediate feedback?
I would personally condense it. I'm obviously a person that likes to say a lot of things in very little time. So especially I think TikTok kind of really warped my perspective on putting out information. So I like to get as much great detail as I can in the shortest amount of time. So like, either using different words that might take 3 words and make it just like 1, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I like to stick with the 5-sentence format, like never more than 5 sentences in this area. And here's the first sentence. The first sentence is always, what do you convert money into? Like that's the most simplest way I can put this. Like haircut fish, Dan, if I was to give you money to do work, what would you convert that money into? Would you make my network secure? Would you protect the sensitive data from possible cyber attack? Would you use your background in taking things apart and putting things back together to improve my infrastructure? Like, what is the thing that I give you money for? And so that goes for everybody that's here. What do I give you money for, and what do you convert that into? And that's always your first sentence. The very best first sentence I ever read was from a woman who came back and said, hey, I made some improvements. Check this out. And when I read it, it said, I am fantastic in the middle of a crisis, but I'm even better at preventing one. I was like, oh, that's solid. Like, that's what I'm giving you money for. Like, if there is a crisis, you're great at taking care of it, but you're better at stopping it. And that's what I want to pay for. So what do you convert money into? When someone pays you, what do you convert it into? And so that's your first sentence in your About Me section. And then all the rest of the sentences back up that claim. So if the claim is I protect customer data, then that second claim is here's the education that I got, here's the experience that I got, here's the way that I've applied it to other places, and then here's how I can do it for you. Anything else, Serena?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
So I like, and Jason, you might be familiar with this, but I don't know if you ever had to do, like when you were in the military, they did bullet points on those reviews. And I forget how exactly they were structured. I should probably look that up because I always kind of I don't like the very strictness of it, but I think there's some value of like how they were structured and how it like made like numbers. You can show an impact on what you're doing as well.
Yep. Yeah, and the one thing about numbers is as long as it's not giving away, and we're going to take a look at this right here, because there's possible places for you to work in numbers here. So I love that you have a bullet point. So for everyone watching right now, have something that says information starts and information stops. Information starts, information stops, information starts, information stops, information starts, information stops. And the reason why is because your human brain likes that. And since your human brain likes that, please make sure you do that for anyone that's coming to read your information. Because there's some of you right now, I'm not sure who, but it's just like a paragraph of knowledge or skills or something that you have that's currently on your profile, where if someone wants to take a look at it right now, it would be like almost like a book, but not a book. So you don't want that. So bullet points is definitely where you want to be with these things. So we got here, PC cleanup. PC cleanup. Responding to calls from customers. Call-less? Is that a C-A-L-L-E-S? Is that right, Serena? What?
Calls. Wait, it would just be CLL.
Like,
I am honestly, if you follow me on Twitter, you know I'm the worst speller in the entire world.
yeah, like I'm almost conflicted. Like, is that spelled right? Is that a special? So let me know if that is spelled right. I don't think it is. Responding to calls from users, and that's not me like trying to call you out. That's just like, no. Once again, when you take a week off from looking at your profile and you go back to it for the first time after a little bit, you'll see the things that you didn't see before. Installing new doesn't need to be capitalized, software on users' devices. What software? That would be really cool. If you can. Now, remember, we work in information technology. So sometimes you don't want to say the thing that you actually do at work because that might be a security risk to your actual employer. So don't do that. But if you can list the types of software, then do it because that'd be cool. Updating users' devices. Once again, you don't need to capitalize users. And trust me, I am a huge fan of capitalizing words that don't need to be capitalized. In fact, I had 1,500 edits for my first book, and about 900 of them was capitalizing things that didn't need to be capitalized. So I get it. Initial setup on new devices, tablets, PCs, phones, printers, installing security cameras, cable runs on Cat5 for internet, phone, and security cameras, terminating Cat5, and implementing IT tracking. Okay. So any thoughts, Serena? Because I'm about to make some improvements here, but I wanted to see if you had any.
Yeah, I remembered. So the thing that I was talking about earlier with the bullet points for the Air Force are called, I had to learn how to write EPR bullets. And that was probably one of the main things that I still felt was beneficial taking away from all of the things that I had done in officer training was learning EPR bullets because they're very concise and helpful and give you a great format on how to do that. I couldn't remember what they were called before, but I looked it up.
Excuse me. Thank you. All right. So I coughed on my shoulder and somehow I got like a dog hair in my mouth. I'm just going to get that out. And then Deb's just looking at me like, oh, that's gross. Okay. So I have a helpful
live TV, everybody. Live TV.
Live. Thanks, Ryan. I have a helpful tip up here. Sometimes we don't know what bullet points to put because we don't know how to describe the kind of work that we do. So what I like to recommend is you just take your job title and then you paste it into the search field on LinkedIn. And then you go to jobs. And then what we're going to have here is 164 jobs, which doesn't make any sense. So we just hit the refresh button over here. And then it's actually going to load all the jobs, which is 11,321. And so if we go over here to information technology, wow, that gave me a whole bunch of things. All right, we'll go to this one. All right. So one of the things that I've learned over time is that sometimes we are the worst people to try to describe what we do at work. Like we don't know what we do at work. We don't know how to describe it. Yeah, like if you were like,
No,
hey, Jason.
This is literally funny because I did this before where I am did exactly what you did is I would look up job descriptions and I'm like, okay, I did that, and that. And I would just copy and paste it into my resume.
I don't know what I do at work. Like if you asked me what I did today, I was like, oh crap. There's a live stream I think I did.
She Network exposed as a fraud.
So leading cybersecurity compliance efforts in support of system owners' responsibility to obtain and maintain an authorization to operate for federal information. Like, I don't know if that's what you do, but like maybe it is. If you go down here to the next one. So what you do is you scroll through, you find any bullet point that says the thing that you do, and then you do that, like in-depth knowledge and experience with next generation firewalls and IPS/IDS systems. You're like, oh yeah, like I do that. Oh, cool. So if you keep looking through, you keep harvesting all the bullet points that you can find about you and your skills and abilities, what you do, just like Serena did. You just find them, you copy them. It explains what you do in the same kind of language that HR and hiring professionals understand. And so you just go through and you harvest all the bullet points that you can find that, like this one. Focus will be on IT-centric data calls and processes. Like maybe that's just a better way to say I took calls. An in-depth knowledge of IT is helpful, but not required. Say I have an in-depth knowledge of IT. execute, track various pieces of operation. Wow, that is a long sentence, and I don't even want to read it. All right, so you get down here too. It says we've been named best. They're talking about khaki now. All right,
Yeah, I
bachelor's
think
degree.
I qualify for this one.
Do you? So when I help people job hunt all the time, there'd be like a couple jobs I'd come across. Like, actually, hold on, everybody, hold on.
Wait a minute.
Nope. I like what I do.
What's the salary? Is it listed?
All right, so let's go back to all the way back here, all the way back to Dan. All right, so Dan, where do I put the walking John Hammond memes? You can definitely add those to. Actually, I would ask John Hammond for a recommendation. All right.
Yeah.
So for those of you watching right now, in these sections right here where it shows your experience, the takeaway is go and search for your actual job that you're either doing or did. Find all the things that describe who you are, copy them, reword them if you need to, and then work them into this section right here. Okay, so work them into this section. All right, then we go down here. Even this cashier stuff, like look how cashier, I would assist guests with their purchases along with solving any issues they had. I had a great customer rapport and hard worker. Like, I'm pretty sure if you did a search right now for cashier, you would find a ton of bullet points that would say like worked in a stressful environment. I was able to like calculate large sums, instantly. Like whatever it is, take that stuff and make sure that you're yes. And if anyone needs a cat, it's right here. All right, so I don't always check the qualifications. I check what the job tasks are for. Probably the job tasks are different from the qualifications. Yep, and that was Wes. Oh, geez. Okay, you're back. All right, I do want to talk about, Serena, has anyone ever endorsed you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, and every time it was wrong. They would endorse me and stuff. I'm like, I've never touched that a day in my life.
All right. So down here, and I know that you only have 83 connections so far, so you don't have that many opportunities to ask. But Dan, I'm pretty sure if you ask John Hammond, different person. If you asked John Hammond to write you a recommendation and you gave him like some very specifics, like, hey, would you write me a recommendation on how I create engaging memes about you and put them on the internet? He's like, actually, dude, I'll probably talk about that right now. All right. So if there's this thing over here called more, and right now it's like save to PDF, all this stuff, message. Let me show you where it's at. All right, so I'm going to go over here to my own profile to show you what this thing is. So if I click on my own profile, if you didn't know this section was here, if I click on more, it says build a resume, share profile message. That's not what I want. What I want is to go over here, down here. Okay. And it says show all pending. I didn't know I had any pending. All right, if I go to the plus symbol, it says ask for a recommendation. So this is what I want everyone to do. Like you can, in your own profile, Dan, you can go to that more section and it's going to have a thing that says ask for recommendation. So Dan, more, ask for recommendation. So I'm going to ask for a recommendation. Now, I'm going to ask for one from, let's see. You get to type in here anything you want. So I'm going to bring up my wife. So that's my wife right there, Jacqueline Blanchard. And then it's like, all right, cool. How do you know this person? All right, let's see. Jacqueline managed me directly. That doesn't seem right. More senior too? No? Worked with you in this different group. Okay. All right, then let's say we did this at one of these jobs that I had. Let's just pick this one. Okay. Now, it says right here, hi, Jacqueline. This is the message that it will send. It says, hi, Jacqueline, would you write me a recommendation, please? That is nice, but it's terrible. Okay, and here's the reason why it's terrible. Because no one wants this. Like, Serena, if I sent you like, hey, Serena, could you write me a recommendation? Like, I'm pretty sure you'd be like, oh, crap.
It feels like more work.
It does. It
Yeah.
feels like work. So I'm going to try to take some of the work out of it for everybody. So I'm going to zoom in here so that way you can read this real clear. It says, hi, Jacqueline, would you write me a recommendation about when we worked together on blank at blank. So when you do that, all right, so Serena, if I said, Serena, would you write me a recommendation? You'd be like, like, because now it's blue skies. Like you can write it about anything, and then you have to like, well, what part do I want to write about? Do I want to write about how Jason and I worked on this live stream together? Or do I want to talk about how he gave me the Twitter account, and then like none of us got fired? That was pretty cool. Like if I asked you for a very specific thing, then you could write a very specific thing back to me. So that's what I want everyone to do. Like when you ask someone for a recommendation, like, would you write me a recommendation about when we work together on at, so that way when the person gets it, they're like, oh, sure. You could even say something like this. Could you write a recommendation about my work ethic when we work together on at? Now, all of a sudden, someone's like, oh, that's even easier. I'll just write about how you showed up on time all the time and you were always fun to be around. Or you say, could you, about my creativity when we work together on at? And I have the burps right now.
Live TV.
All right. So, hi, Jacqueline. Would you write me a recommendation about my creativity when we work together on at? So all of a sudden, this becomes not as much of a heavy task for somebody. It's still work, but it's less work because they don't have to think as hard. All right. So now what do you do with this? All right. So Serena, I'm going to show you something weird here. Live TV, of course, right? And I want to get your feedback on it because it's going to be weird.
Okay.
All right. So remember how we talked about the About Me section? You know, like you say all these things. What do you convert money into and stuff? And you can have your own personal feelings here. So mine is, if you take a look at my About Me section, it says, I produce engaging content that earns people's attention and use that to build genuine, thriving communities. That's what I get paid for. That's what I convert money into. Second sentence is, send me a message. Let's grab hot chocolate or coffee and swap stories. All right. Like and then here's the weird part. Instead of me saying things about myself, I used the recommendations down here that people wrote about me. So when you ask people for recommendations, you just go and then you take a look at the recommendation and you find that one sentence. He is creative and selfless in what he does by investing in others, by giving back his time for the greater good of the emerging community. Okay. So you find that nugget, that one thing that's inside that recommendation that says what you want it to say to everybody else. And then you just put it in your About Me section. He is creative and selfless in what he does by investing in others and giving back for his time for the greater good of the emerging community. So I just say who wrote that. He works well with large teams and can immediately make himself a valuable member and respected member. He is always approachable. Now, I could say I can juggle multiple projects. I can say I'm approachable. I can say I work well with large teams. And I could say I'm selfless. But isn't it nicer when someone else says it for me? So, Serena, this is weird. What are your thoughts?
No, I like it. I was really just thinking about how you have 31 recommendations. It's like, that's a lot. And then I was thinking, would 31 people write a recommendation about me? Probably not.
There's probably some people here.
Yeah.
So Waiting through the log says, now I feel bad when Jason asked me for a recommendation. You should. Wade. You should.
But
no. Is it okay to have a quote of me, Moo too, in your bio section? I think it's okay to have a quote about anyone that wrote something about you. 37 pieces, right? Yeah, it's a lot of flair. All right. So the thing that I wanted to just talk about is when you're job hunting, don't be like everybody else. Don't be like everybody else. Because if you're like everyone else, then you're just like in the stack with everybody else. Like you're just like everybody else.
Send your resume certified mail. So then you know that they got it.
Yeah. So
Jason's like, no.
No, so back when they actually, all right, Serena recently told me, is it okay that I tell people that you said that I'm the same age as your dad?
Yeah.
I guess we're live. All right. So I'm apparently like the same age as Serena's dad, which is really throwing me off. But at this one point we had fax machines. Like there was these fax machines and you could send a fax. And I don't know if have you ever sent a fax? Like this is not me.
Yeah. Well, so like a lot of medical people still only do fax, but I've never had a fax machine. So I'd always have to go to my mom's work and fax it at her work.
Yeah.
So
the fax machine is this weird thing. But if you were job hunting, like in the early the aughts, I know they're called like the zeros or something. If you were job hunting in the zeros, definitely send a fax because no one was like sending faxes at that time. And so if the fax machine just would like start firing up and like for sure you would go check the fax machine. You're like, what is this, a job resume? This is awesome. Okay, so yes, send stuff certified mail. Do we want to do another LinkedIn profile? Or Dan, did that answer? Dan, if you're still here, did you have any takeaways from that, I guess? Marathon says, hello, what common mistakes do you see people make on their LinkedIn resume cover letters? My most common mistake is, one, people don't describe themselves well. They just put like a couple things and they forget about all the other stuff that they know how to do. Second is that they only make one resume and they put it everywhere and they don't customize it for the jobs that they're applying for. And three, cover letters should die in a fire. They should. All cover letters should just die. They should never be
I've
used.
never written a cover letter in my life.
No.
But what was I gonna say? I forget now. But the Restream bot for faxed in questions when.
We can do that. All right, so let's go ahead and can you give me Florian's? Ryan, can you
No, I
copy
remember
that?
what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, I hear a lot of people will apply for jobs and they'll apply for a ton of places and they're not getting calls back and all this other stuff. And I want to say like 9 times out of 10, if that's the case, you should revamp your resume. Like maybe have a couple different styles or different resumes that you want to try, like 2 or 3 that you want to try out and see which ones like get you calls back. One's better than the other. But also if you have, someone in your family or a friend that's really good with grammar and English and different stuff like that, like it's always great to have a friend look over your resume too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because the thing about a resume is, like, first of all, we hate to talk about ourselves. And that's what the whole paper is. Like, tell me why you're great. And you're like, oh, God. And then second of all, like that piece of paper is either the reason you'll eat or not eat. Like, it's like, that's a lot of stress to put on a sheet of paper. And so I get being like having someone look it over is muy en point. No, I was going to say something in Spanish and then it all fell apart. All right. So we got Florian here. It says security engineer. And then I believe Switzerland. So we got that in Switzerland. We got where he worked. We go down here to what's a computer? Now, if you're not job hunting, so it's fine. If you are job hunting, I'd put a little bit more there. Just put a little bit more in that section. And once again, go back to the what do you convert money into? When someone hires you, what do you do with the money that they give you? So like Serena and I are at Black Hills to do this. Like, this is one of our job duties. Like, I create engaging content that prevents, like, I would put that here because that's what I convert money into. Serena converts money into people showing up. She also converts money into pen tests. Like, she converts money into making systems more secure. And so what do you turn money into? All right, we go down here to this experience level, and you have nothing. You have absolutely nothing here. So at this point, actually, this is a really good example. All right, Serena, check this out. Mm-hmm. At Black Hills, we have no job descriptions. Like, we actually have to write our own, like, after we get hired. Like, John, like, now that I'm thinking about it, that's actually kind of weird. But we have no job descriptions. Like, John either finds us or one of us finds someone else and like, hey, come work at Black Hills. And then once we get the job at Black Hills, they're like, well, actually, what am I doing all day? And so we have to write our own job description. The way that we do it is we go and find bullet points that says this is what I do all day. But check this out, Florian. If you go to Base Vision AGs, remember that job description that you found for this job? Like, if that's what happened, and this goes for everybody right here. If you got a job because of a job description, take the job description, copy it, and just paste it into your LinkedIn profile. Like, because that's the job you're doing now. Any of you over the next 6 months get a new job, just take the job description that you applied to, copy all the things, drop it into your LinkedIn profile, because that's what you do now. So just take the job description and put it in here. Now, are you actually doing all that stuff? Probably not. All right, and then you have a bunch of other stuff here that has no, nothing really there. Now, if you were in Switzerland and there wasn't that many people who did IAM and cloud security, like I'm pretty sure that you'd be fine just getting that job right there with that stuff. Your certs are cool. You got this down here. I hate that stuff is so far down on the page. If it's important, add it to your About Me section. If there's something that you think is important, put it up here instead of expecting people to keep scrolling all the way down. So that goes for like quotes and things like that too. And then let's take a look at, you have 500 plus connections. So you've met a lot of people. You also have connections that I have. So Dave Kennedy and Paula and others. So I don't know if that helped anything. So they raised the building where I spent most of my working life, and those upper level folks are retired or scattered to the wind. Any suggestions for handling that? I wasn't expecting that. Did you give me another one? No, I see what you're saying. I'm worried because the phone and address will both come back. No. So they raised the building where I spent most of my working life, and those upper level folks are retired or scattered to the wind. And he's, yeah, Serena, has anyone ever called you references?
I don't think I've ever given references.
Yeah, I don't think that's a...
The only time I had to give references was for a job that needed a security clearance.
Okay.
Or government. I think that's still more common.
That is correct. So Carl, if you're having one of those things where you need security clearance and they can't get a hold of previous people, I don't think having a work address and a phone number is going to change that, because they're going to go straight to the human being. They're not going to go and call the office. They're not going to call the work number. They're going to call and track down that human being. That's actually what they're like. Private investigators. They investigate you and they find people. Like whenever I get
and
a phone
they will
call,
freak your neighbors out, because
yes,
your neighbors aren't always a big fan of the feds showing up to poke around.
I hate every time the Federal Bureau of Investigation calls my phone. Every time. It's like it shows up in like as the caller ID is like the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Like hello.
Just normal Jason things.
Oh God, jeez. All right.
Why does the FBI have you on speed dial number one?
Not speed dial. It's just every once in a while they need to talk to me. Not about. Well, I probably shouldn't. No, this is stuff in the past. Everything's fine. All right, question. How do you proactively address it if you are obviously neurodivergent? I think we're in the phase of society where you can actually put neurodivergent on your resume and have it not be anything that's going to cause you an issue. Is there going to be some places that choose to not hire you? Sure, but also... like it may not have anything to do with being neurodivergent. Like I'm pretty sure there are days where I'm like, oh crap. Yep. Okay. So I don't think it's a issue. What I think it is something just to let people know. I always believe in open transparency on resumes. Thoughts, Serena?
I feel like this one's a little bit more complicated and nuanced. Because like really depends. Like there was one company, and I won't drag them specifically, but they had a lot of tests to take, like time tests prior to even really doing like a full interview. And unfortunately, like a lot of those tests do end up weeding out a lot of neurodivergent people. And but I'm also in the same token, like if you work in tech and you have great qualifications, I'd rather work for a tech company that is more supportive, that like immediately that they're accepting of you and all of your greatness, because being neurodivergent, like I am myself, does give like a different perspective, which is also valuable, right? And so there are companies out there that will recognize that and will see that and will like that. And then there's still some that are like stuck in the old age. So it really just, it depends. But personally, I would want to work for a company that was cool with it being upfront,
Yeah. And Eddie, you said context. I live in the South, and I understand that. Like wherever you live is like contextually, it's going to be a little bit different based on people's thoughts and feelings. But one of the things I want to show you is if Eddie, I don't know what job you're going for, but there's a couple things that you can do inside the LinkedIn search for jobs. Is if you go over here to all filters, go to past week. Never, ever, 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 ever click these buttons. Like never click internship, associate, director, entry level, mid. And the reason why is because the person who uploaded it didn't click the right button anyway. And so when you click on that entry level and it asks for 5 years of experience, that's why. Because the person who uploaded it didn't care enough. They just clicked all the buttons because they wanted the most people to be able to see it. And that's why you get so sad. So I'll show you how to fix that in a second. But if you go down here to full-time or part-time or contract or whatever, if we go to the remote, so I typed in information security and remote. So when I click on the show, it's going to like, all right, here's 11,000. So these are 11,000 remote positions currently in the United States that have the words information security in it. Now, if you are a junior person, if you type in -SR and -senior, it will get rid of all senior level jobs in that search. So what it's going to do is get us down to, I hit the enter. All right, I'll hit that. 5,199 results. So there are currently 5,199 results of entry-level information security jobs that are remote, that were posted in the past week. So when you say you're in the South and when you say you're neurodivergent, what I'm going to encourage you to do is look for those remote work from home jobs where you can be who you are. And I mean, at 5,203 results, there's got to be at least 100 companies in there that you'd be interested in working for. How would you explain neurodivergent to people stuck in the old ages? It's the simplest words possible. You can put, I have never had to put it. And so the only thing I can think of is to say neurodivergent : possibly what comes after that. So. All right. I had a discussion with my team a couple months ago, and we discussed that a lot of people in cybersecurity are neurodivergent. I've been in cybersecurity for 7 years now, and I felt at home when I got in here, and I was like, oh, like even though I work in marketing, I am weird in marketing. I don't get along with anyone else in marketing. And so when I got into the information security industry, I was like, oh, I get along with you all so well. I found my people.
Yeah. I would agree. I think the thing that I like about tech and being like neurodivergent is that you have an endless amount of information that you can consume, and there's so many different areas you can pivot into. And I think a lot of people in tech are neurodivergent because it's just like an attractive field for people whose brains are wired differently.
So we got a question here. I pivoted from service desk into Infosec analyst role. So I'm looking for a new job since I effectively have never looked for a job in Infosec. What would be some major red flags to avoid? Well, I mean, you can always go to Glassdoor. Remember, Glassdoor is where people who are, you're going to get a subsection of people who had feelings about that company. You're not going to get everyone that had feelings about that company. But Serena, you get a chance to do this more often. What do you think?
Major red flags that I would probably avoid are people that have a super long job description that want you to do literally everything. Because especially if it's at a larger company or something, it seems like they're just trying to cram in like 3 or 4 jobs into one role, and pay them as one person doing one of those jobs. So, like be careful when you're looking at that. Other red flags would be like if they're like, oh, we want you to have, 10 years of experience in Docker or something that's not even been around for that long.
Yeah.
It just shows that there's a disconnect in communication, probably from like HR, whoever's writing that job description, to like the manager. And that can kind of be some red flags sometimes. Like when I was working at Cisco, I was the technical lead for data center customer success. And the first thing that I did when I took over that role was revamp the job description and revamp what we were looking for those roles. Because I was like, we need all of these things and we have multiple positions, but we don't need everyone to be an expert in all of those things. We just need someone to be an expert in one of these things on the team, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, keep a lookout for that. If they're always like, some startups can have a lot of red flags because they want you to work long hours and not really have a good work-life balance. We're a family and high-paced environment, and like
Yeah.
all this other stuff can be a red flag too.
Yeah, I like that family thing. Like I don't refer to Black Hills as a family. Like even though I really enjoy you all, I love working here. We are definitely a team. And so when everyone's like, "Hey, we're like a family," I was like, "No, my family is like a family." All right, so check this out. There's a problem that happens with job hunters, and I got a chance to do this for 2 years, so I saw it every single week when I did the live streams. Is that, like Serena said, that was a really good point. Like when you, the job hunter, see something here like experience with an aptitude for understanding and articulating technical solutions. That's a weird sentence. But the other thing here is that it says experience with, is that some job hunters always assume every bullet point means an expert in. So just because it says experience working with or as a solution architect, CIO, or similar role, like I'm not saying like, for the entry level people, but when it says experience with, it doesn't say expert as a solution architect, CIO, or similar role. It doesn't say expert with an aptitude. It doesn't say it does say expertise in. It says excellent. So if it doesn't say expert, please don't assume it isn't expert. And so at some point you're gonna have to be like, I'm not an expert in it, but I know it, so I'm gonna be okay with it. Wow, political savvy. This is like a red flag company. Like all of this stuff for me is like politically savvy and awareness of ability to respond to operating environments. No thanks. All right.
That's
so,
like a weird line. I don't even know what they're meaning by that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I understand. And then they threw operating systems on the end of that. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a look at one more profile, and then we'll be done for today. And it is, I'm going to, unfortunately, butcher the way to say this name. And it's not out of disrespect. It's just out of the fact that I don't say names like this that often. So, Abiyet?
I think it's Abhijit.
Abhijit. Okay. So
which one's right? Tell us who's closer.
Yeah, tell us who's closer, Jason or Serena. All right. So it says security researcher, student, learning mysterious ways of offensive security, learning mysterious ways of IT troubleshooter. New Delhi, India, 500 contacts. All right. Talks about Infosec. Security researcher, student, learning mysterious ways of offensive security, IT troubleshooter. Serena, thoughts?
I like the header. That's cool. It seems like there's watermarks on there.
Oh yeah.
So that, if you want to keep a header, I mean, that would be cool. I make a lot of stuff in Canva. Might be an option. I would probably change the profile picture. Or maybe it's a conversation starter. I don't know. It depends. And then security researcher and students, I would be curious of which you have more experience in. So like if you are a student first and then you're just starting as a security researcher, I'd probably put whichever one you have more experience in.
Yeah, because remember, human beings there's this thing about human beings, okay? We like context. Context helps us understand what we're looking at. Because if today we said, all right, everybody, welcome to Antisyphon live stream. Today we're going to talk about how to cook a turkey. You'd be like, why are we talking about how to cook a turkey on an like even some of you today are having a context like problem with the fact that we're talking about job hunting on an Antisyphon live stream where you're like, the context seems off. And so the same thing with human beings. Like I start building context from the moment I start reading about you. So I see security researcher, then student, which goes, are you a student or are you a security researcher or are you both? And then learning mysterious ways of offensive security. And since you capitalize offensive security, I almost assume you're talking about the company offensive security instead of offensive security being its general practice. And then IT troubleshooter. Okay. So I'm just letting you know context is being built from the moment we start reading your profile. All right. You have all the things that you've been doing. All right, here we go. Okay. First, now I'm gonna let you know I'm gonna read this, but I'm not gonna like it. I'm not gonna like reading it, and the reason I don't like reading it is because it's a lot. Serena,
Yeah.
I almost want to have you read it. But I'm
Yeah.
not. No. Okay, so there's this thing, like, have you ever been in class, like Serena, have you ever been in a class where they bring up the slides and there's just so much on the slides where you're just like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. Or like a slide pops up and it's got like some like quick bullet points on it with like some short sentences. You're like, oh, okay, cool, I can digest that. And so the same thing happens here. Like, I don't even want to read it because it looks like it's going to be a serious investment in my time. And if you're like, really? Yes. The internet is a very fast place. Like, I am on to the next thing. Like, Serena, like TikTok, what do you got? Like a second before someone like flips on to the next video or something?
Yeah, it's typically under 3 seconds. So you have to hook them in under 3 seconds.
All right. So we get here. It says, ever since I was a child, my relatives used to call me with their tech issues. So you are, and I was always like, thank you for giving us a chance to talk about this, because now we get a chance to talk about this. And there's at least 8 other people right now that are like, I need to make some changes to my own LinkedIn profile. All right. So as I walk them through the whole procedure to mitigate it, I recently came to know it as an integral part of troubleshooting. My introduction to technology began when my father brought home a Nokia 1100. I soon discovered there was more to it than just calls. I love the conversational tone of this. Like, don't get me wrong. This is a great way to have a conversation with someone at a conference. Like, you meet them at a conference, you're talking with them, you get to know each other. This is great. I just calls and texts. It used to charge money for incoming calls, something I find, and you wrote amusing instead of amusing. Now that I think of, you talk to yourself while you're talking to us. Interesting. I explored games and other functionalities and soon mastered them. At one point, I had memorized all settings, memorized along with their functionality. I eventually ended this with this phone a couple years later. I still have it somewhere in storage where my father upgraded to a more functional role. I'm letting you know right now, if I was looking at hiring you for something, I would have quit reading by this point. Now, it is an interesting story. Like, you're leading me down a path here, but I have not gotten to with this device came. So, Serena, I had this thing I edited. I taught students how to edit videos.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever they're like, hey, Jason, will you watch my video? My first question is always, how long is it? Because that is like if it was 15 minutes, I'm like, okay, all right, okay. If it was like, oh, it's 3 minutes long, you're like, oh, cool, yeah, I'll watch your video. But if they said it was like 15 minutes long, I was like, okay, all right. And then, like, I don't know, because you do TikTok, like, you have to get right into it. You have to let people know. You have to hook them from the beginning, and then you have to keep their attention all the way through. But these students of mine would, like, 7 minutes, 8 minutes into it, they would like look at me being bored, and they go, wait for the end. Just wait for the end. And I was like, no. If you don't have my attention all the way through, you don't get my attention at the end. Okay. So same thing, like when you're making content, and that's what this is. You're like explaining who you are. You're creating content, and you want me to keep reading. With this device came internet, which piqued my curiosity and introduced me to a whole new world. Now I had my books and internet to experiment, and it helped me a lot to navigate through years. Fast forward to present, I am hooked to books and cherish them to a great extent. Apart from this, I love research, food, wanderlust. I love wanderlust. That's a fantastic word. Troubleshooting, and it gives me immense joy to help people solve their problems. My early experiences with technology has enabled me to understand any new technology quickly and figure out the workings in no time. It's also fueled me with a desire to secure. And there we go. There it is. I desire to secure and protect people and their data. That's the sentence right there. That's like the whole thing. You built all the way up to this sentence, and instead of building up to this sentence, start with it. Because if you start with it, then people are like, you desire to secure and protect data and people? Nice. Me too. That's what I want to hire you for. That's actually what the job's about. All right.
See, like, I think like reading this, a lot of it is trying to convince the reader that you're interested in tech and you've been interested in tech for a long time. But if you already have a technical resume and you're already a student and you're already doing all those things, they already believe you. You know, they already know that you're interested. And I think some contextual background can be good, but it seems, I mean, you are a student and you are starting out in your career, so I understand sometimes people make up for maybe a lack of like experience in a role, in a job, a full-time job. But like there's still so much that you can talk about, what you're doing at school, projects that you've worked on, all these other things, and what your aspiration is to do after you graduate college or graduate school. So does that make sense? I hope that.
I get the burpees again. All right.
You're cut off from soda.
Yeah. I'm constantly upgrading my skill set to better understand. Like this whole section right here. This is the good stuff. This resulted in my strong focus on cybersecurity domain, and particularly interest in offensive security. I'm constantly upgrading my skills to better understand. When you say whenever, and this goes for everybody, like if you say I'm constantly upgrading my skill set, put how. Don't just say I'm constantly upgrading my skill set to better understand different technologies. Like put the thing that you're doing to upgrade your skill set. Because if not, at some point it sounds like platitudes, and I don't want to talk politics here, but when someone says something in politics and you're like, I don't agree, because it's just a general statement. I could also make general statements. That's a general statement. So don't generalize your statements. Get specific with what you're doing.
Yeah, you could talk about like through CTFs, through Hack the Box, through classes that you're taking, certifications that you may be studying for, projects you're working on.
Yeah. Get down here, you have this stuff, leading a team of 5 members. I love that. I love that you said you lead a team of 5 members. And the reason why is because anytime you can put some kind of quantified number in here, it lets people understand. Because if you said, I've led teams. That's what there's some of you right now that you put I lead teams. Like 2 people, 1,000, 4, 96. So when you can say leading a team of 5 members, that's great. Handling HR work associated with IT department, recruiting and onboarding of new members, maintaining evaluation sheets, maintaining coordination within department. Like all this stuff is good. Like I definitely think you could go to some HR things here and like find some more HR stuff that you do. But remember bullet points. Like you're kind of doing it here with the pipe symbol. Like I call it the pipe symbol. I don't know what it's actually called. Do you know what it's called? What's this symbol?
It is a pipe.
It's a pipe. Yes. I've learned a lot over the last couple of years. All right. So you got the pipe symbol here. And that does differentiate where like stuff starts and ends. But it all runs together. Like human beings are like leading a team of 5 members, handling HR. Like just break it down into bullet points. And actually put a bullet at the beginning of it. Like literally put a bullet. And Dan did an interesting thing. I want to go back to Dan haircut, fish haircut. Dan connected with me while this is happening. He's one of these 2 people up here. So if you connect with somebody that has a lot of connections, well, then all of a sudden you're now the second connection to all of those connections. So I want to show the one person that you really want to connect with before we finish here today. And Serena, do you have anything else to comment on here?
Nope.
All right.
Now I feel like I should put my profile back up so people can connect with me.
Yeah. All right. So if we have one last thing to talk about, is that how to connect with people who are connected to lots of people. So if you go over here to, let's see, let's pick Microsoft. All right, so we got Microsoft. They're a large cybersecurity /IT / software company. And we click on the actual company itself. Okay, and then we go over here to people, and then it's going to say something like, would you like to, it's 220,857 employees. Cool. The person you want to connect with is recruiter. the recruiter, the people who use LinkedIn daily to find people to hire for jobs. If you type in the word recruiter on any company, so you go to any company, type in recruiter, you'll find the recruiters that work at that company. And then you just scroll through here and you're like, hello, Ashley. It's very nice to meet you. Now, you can just right click here, Desiree Global Talent Acquisition. So, and my new friend here from India, you could connect here with Desiree, and then we got Pete over here, who's a recruiter, and then we go down here. So we got Sam, who's a talent recruiter acquisition. So we got Ashley. Now, what you could do instead of connecting with people, because connecting with people kind of says like, do you want to be friends? Maybe it makes sense to connect, but you can always click on the More tab and hit follow. You can always choose to follow anybody on LinkedIn. And so that's not weird. Connecting with people sometimes is weird. Like if you have no reason to connect with them, I don't want you to go and connect with everybody. Like it doesn't make any sense. But if you see someone that it does make sense to recruit, like here, if I was in India and I wanted to work for Microsoft one day, I may hit the connect button here. Just might. That's just me. I would connect here. I think over here to Pete. We got Pete. He's New Hampshire. I don't know. Maybe I'll connect with him. I might read through his profile. Oh, this is going to be the last thing I show you. Serena, do you know about this? Everything you do on LinkedIn is tracked and shown to people through your activity feed?
Yes.
Okay.
Like you can, if you comment on someone's post or yeah.
Yeah. Anything you post, anything that you like, anything that you comment on, anything that you share, all of that activity is tracked in chronological order. So within 17 hours, I know that Pete has been on LinkedIn within the last 17 hours. And so you could go through here. And what happens is when you look through someone's activity feed, it introduces you to all the people that they connect with, all the people that they comment on, all the people that work in their departments and things like that. So if you scroll through here, you can be introduced to many other people. And so if you're looking to connect with people, start with recruiters, either follow them or connect with them genuinely because it actually makes sense. And then just see, they post jobs all the time. They post who they're connecting with all the time. They just do stuff all the time. They're constantly doing it. All right. Any final questions before we wrap up? It's already been an hour. Normally these don't go that long.
Someone said, who is a recruiter for Black Hills? That would be John, probably.
Yeah, John's the main recruiter for Black Hills. And then everyone that works at Black Hills is kind of a recruiter for Black Hills. Like whenever we find somebody, we're like, oh, you're very cool. Do you want to come work with us? And then we either convince John to hire them or it doesn't work.
Axel asked, what certificates help me get a job? I have an A+, but nobody cares. Well, you could talk about things that you learned in the A+ of things that you have experience with, right? Or knowledge of. So don't just say I have an A+, say, hey, because someone, maybe like a tech recruiter, they're like, an A+, okay. But they might not know everything that's in an A+. So kind of like talk about what's actually in that certification and things that you've learned. And then you'll have more things to put on your resume in general to hopefully get you past maybe some HR filters when you're applying.
That is fantastic advice. So what the practical way of doing that is to go to the website of the certification that you have, and anywhere it says students will learn or certification holder understands or anything, like if you find bullet points or if it explains what you'll learn. There was this your badge. It used to be called a claim badges. So badge. I think it changed its name to Credly. Yeah, it's Credly. All right, so if you go to Credly, and a lot of times what they'll do is they'll like show you the badge. Like I don't know.
You can look me up on there.
Oh, can I?
Yeah, you could search for me maybe, and then just type my full name. Doesn't have a W in it though. And then space DI.
DI.
PE.
PE.
NTI.
NTI. I knew that kind of. All right, so I don't think you're at here. You're probably at like this is like the corporate site. So
I could probably put the
Credly CompTIA.
Oh, it found me. Okay, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, so if I go over here to Credly CompTIA and you click on the A+ certification, what they do is they list out all the skills you have. Like they put it here. And so if you click on System Administrator, they'll actually like show you some other jobs that are hiring and things like that. But this is where you can start getting some bullets. Like apparently you understand cloud computing and cybersecurity and hardware configuration, hardware troubleshooting. So this is one of the places where you can grab stuff that goes along. All right. Anything else? Dan says, can you please pass on my LinkedIn profile to John? Here, let me give it to you. LinkedIn, please pass it, John. Please and thank you. Not yet, because I'm going on vacation. When I get back from vacation, I will share it with John. Thoughts on going from, I don't think we have time for it. How about we do this again in the future, Serena?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening today. This is the Antisyphon live stream. Antisyphon does training. The reason why we did job hunting today is because what do you do with all that training? Like once you get the training, like you're doing it for a reason, and some of those reasons might be jobs. And so we want to make sure that we're not only training you, but we're showing you how to job hunt, because if you have all the skills, but you don't know how to get a job with it, then that's not great. And so Serena and I will be back in the future to talk about job hunting some more. And thanks for showing up today. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Bye.